earliest? Like for whom is it the
I
earliest
think
hour?
that me. I'm on the Central Time, right?
I'm Eastern.
It's 8:30 a.m. for me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Moshi Mosh! Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our continued discussion of the Banished Lands. Last month it was Time of Dread, and this month it is Time of Blod, which is the most appropriate thing to be on my channel. Is Time of Blod, book 2 in the Of Blood and Bone trilogy by John Gwynne.
Stop it.
Of Blood and Bone trilogy by John Gwynne. This is the continuation of So we're going to talk non-spoiler first, I guess. Though be warned, it's going to be spoilers for book 1 because it literally picks up the day after Time of Dread. So what were you guys' overall kind of non-spoiler thoughts? We got Andrew here with us, Derry, Michelle, Stuart, Matt. Nice. We're eager to hear y'all's thoughts. So Philip, what was kind of your non-spoiler thoughts of Blood and Bone? Sorry, Time of Blood.
Time of Blood, yes. So I'm one of the ones who has not finished the trilogy yet. So I have not read Time of Courage. I think, Alan, you and I are the only ones here.
Just us.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to boast a little bit because I did have a couple accurate predictions last time. So yeah, I think I would. We'll talk about that later, I guess, because this is still non-spoiler. But also, before I really get into it, I also want to just. I think everybody would agree with me. Let's extend our best wishes to the Gwynne family.
Yes.
They are going through a bit of a difficult time right now. So we send our love and our best wishes to all of them.
Absolutely.
But so I really did enjoy the second in the trilogy here, Time of Blood. And it reminded me a lot of the second book in The Faithful and the Fallen in some ways. Valor. So there's a lot of chasing going on in A Time of Blood like there was in Valor. I wouldn't call this a complaint because I loved every book by Gwynne I've read, but I would say that I liked what Gwynne does in A Time of Blood a little more than Valor, in the sense that there are more pauses in between all the chasing. There are more times of reflection. There are some beautiful scenes and some very touching scenes in there that I enjoyed a lot. And it also ends on a big, epic battle scale type thing as well. So that it does differentiate it from Valor as well, which if I remember Valor being just a lot of kind of catching my breath, trying to catch my breath because there was a lot of chasing, a lot of action. Whereas here I felt like I really liked the pacing in the sense that it was a lot of fast action. That's Gwynne. He's the best at that. But at the same time, I really did enjoy those moments of quiet reflection. And I found that I had a little bit of a revelation this time reading. This might have been obvious to the rest of you from book 1. But for me, one of the big standouts, one of the things that I just realized about Gwynne's writing, something that I love, and I talked about this in my review, is that he's so good at the found family theme. And that is just so beautiful. That is one of the things where I found myself, what I realized about Gwynne is that he makes me cry like a lot of us. He kills beautiful characters and he does things that make us upset at the time, but make the books compelling. But I think what grabs me the most about Gwynne's writing is that found family theme that he does so well. And that's where I actually cry. At those moments when there's these speeches and the characters being supported by the characters' friends and family and the found family. Those are the moments that really grab me about, I think, Gwynne's writing the most. And he's so good at that. That's where he really tugs on my heartstrings, I think. So that is something I realized as I was reading A Time of Blood. But when I look back, those are the moments that grabbed me when I was reading The Faithful and the Fallen and pretty much every Gwynne book so far. So yeah, I think he's just brilliant at that.
Yeah. I'll go next as the other person who just read it, and then we'll ask the vets here. Yeah, I agree, Philip. First of all, my boy Cullen. Cullen is my favorite character because he is Cuthbert from the Dark Tower and doesn't take anything seriously, and it's just all about let's do it. Is it fighting time? Woo! Let's kick the tires and light the fires. I just like Cullen like a lot. He is indefatigable. Like he's just. I just really like Cullen, and he's super welcoming of Drem, which I really, really like. He's like, "Come on, cuz," and so that whole found family thing. I really like Cullen. I like the the Order of the Bright Star. I also was right on a couple predictions. The battle scenes are much more tinged with horror than they are in the previous series. Like they're very scary. Like the revenants are terrifying. They're and especially in battle, like he does a really good job describing like how terrifying those things really are in battle. And I thought that was really well done. Philip, I do agree that I think it does feel like it treads a lot of similar ground as Valor, especially with the popping up of like the two mythical creatures as well. I'm like, wait a minute, like, haven't we done this before? But he then proceeds to, even though we have seen that, he then proceeds to, like, there's some the Island of Dr. Moreau, Herbert the Reanimator stuff going on in here. Like, has John Gwynne read Lovecraft and, H.G. Wells? Because I was getting huge Moreau and Reanimator vibes up in this. It's just like some weird crap going on. But I did enjoy it. One thing I missed in Time of Blood that we had in Time of Dread was that small town mystery, like the whole time where we're trying to figure out what's going on at the mines and who's behind it. I do like the continued punching of the greater good thing, where everyone thinks, the greater good, like the hot fuzz stuff. But I really enjoyed it. It did, for me, it felt most like a middle book of any of the books I read, because not a ton happens in Time of Blood. It's a lot of preparation for that last 50 pages, like a lot of the running, but it's like, 100 pages shorter than Valor. And so less happened. So I am ready for the 200 page longer Time of Courage. And the other thing we'll take till after spoilers. So, Abby, can you remember your original thoughts on just the middle book?
Yeah. So, memory here, trying to like.
I'd be scared now.
This morning, I was like, okay, got to get the memory in gear. Like, trying to remember this book and what actually happens in book 2. And I think, Alan, what you just said about how there is less that goes on in this one in some ways. So when I was trying to think of like pivotal scenes, there weren't so many like pivotal scenes that came to mind. The thing that I guess has stuck with me with this book is I think it is the one that leans most on the horror aspects in the series. And that they have really, I guess, stayed with me, because I remember reading it. I was like, I think I messaged Leslie. I was like, Leslie, you are going to love this, because this is like the most horror fantasy type book that John Gwynne has written, with those ferals and the exploration of what goes on with them. And Alan, as you said, they are quite horrific in battle.
Weird. It's so weird.
But yeah, I guess you do get to see. I mean, now even further in like the Shadow of the Gods, there were these horrific type creatures and scenes as well. So it's a theme to have these horrible things in his world which are there to kill you.
Yeah. On a real quick side note, Philip, you need to read Bernard Cornwell's Arthur trilogy, because I read Petrick's review saying that John Gwynne told Petrick that it was like the thing that most influenced him, and having just finished The Winter King on audio, like Merlin's out there looking for the cauldron, and I'm just like, the cauldron of like I'm like, oh, this is so like, I can feel the Faithful and the Fallen's roots sitting here in this Dark Age Britain thing. It's really good.
Well,
and Merlin is so cool.
I have the whole trilogy like sat there waiting for me.
Freaking read it. I finished Winter King and immediately started Enemy of God, because the narrator is fantastic, and he spells, he pronounces all the weird old English name, Bothithid, and Excalibur's real name, whatever that is. Like, I can't even begin. Patrick, thoughts?
I think I have to agree almost completely with what both of you have said, especially what Philip has said, that this one is very similar to Valor.
Yeah.
But that's not a complaint for me because, well, I really love Valor, and if it ain't broke, then why fix it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the stuff that you said about Cullen, that one is one of my favorite things about The Time of Blood. Really, really good. It touched my heart so much, especially seeing Dram being accepted like that. It's really heartwarming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides that, I think I don't really have much to add. I completely agree with what both of you what the three of you have said so far.
Nice. I will say that I liked Bleda in this book more, Sarah. So I think Bleda had more to do in this book.
I prepared myself for you not to like him, so I was calm when we came in.
I like Bleda this time. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
I really liked it. I do think that it benefited greatly from the addition of the new perspective. So I guess we can talk about that afterward. But I thought it really helped in terms of the overall story, but also for the themes, because so much of this, like you said, Alan, is about the greater good and shades of gray and who is on the right side, who is on the wrong side. And from the additional perspective that we get to gain a little more insight into why people are fighting the way that they are or on the side that they're on. And so it helps open that up to different perspectives than we didn't get in book one. So I thought that was probably the strongest element of the second book. But otherwise, like you said, it is very much a middle book in a way that maybe None of the Faithful and the Fallen feels like a middle book. But I remember when I read them, because the end of this one is such a cliffhanger, I just closed it and opened the next one immediately. I think I was off that day and I just read both of them. Like I just spent that whole day reading those two books. So it's hard for me to separate the two of them in my mind. But I think that the new perspective that we get, the new point of view is a really important part of the book.
Yeah. Matt, I agree. I love Burn.
Burn is awesome.
Yes, yeah. Burn is awesome.
Jimmy, thoughts?
Well, I was going to pivot and talk about how horrible the enemies are and how it's very devilish, but everyone kind of took the wind out of my sails.
We'll start with you next time.
Alan over here talking about Reanimator. I scratched it off my notes.
Oh, no!
The thing about Time of Blod is the fact that I think it's a very good example. Like if you could hand someone a book and say, this is like John Gwynne does pacing well, I think that this is the book that kind of exemplifies that. Yeah. And I do agree that not as much stuff happens here, but I think what we do get in book two is a few things. And one of it is it's different from Faithful and the Fallen and Valor, because Valor was so black and white. And where we are now is we are dealing with a lot of grayness, right? We're dealing with ambiguous. Right. There's an echo somewhere. Someone's echoing.
I don't know where it's coming from. I'm trying to adjust settings.
Hold on. It's probably mine.
Yeah, it's not me because I turned my volume down to see. But...
Okay.
It's probably mine.
I know I talk loud. All right. I think we're good. All right. So anyways, we're dealing with a lot of ambiguity. I can't speak today. It's early. We're dealing with gray characters this time. Things are not as cut and dry. Things are not as there's not a line drawn in the sand that is completely obvious about who is good and who is bad, which I think is a little bit different from Faith of the Fall. But also what we're getting here is a lot more of a perspective because of that from the antagonist, and specifically one POV that I really, really enjoyed. And I think that it kind of made this book more well-rounded. And I like that. I like seeing the motivations, not just of our protagonist, but of also our antagonist, our bad people, as you will say. And I also thought the ending of this book was so good. And I know that it's a book too, and it's cliffhanger, all this stuff, but it's such a good ending, and it's so well done. Those last 50 pages made everything feel very, very worth it to me.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's also a lot of dialogue that kind of talks about the previous series in this book more so than the first. And I really, really like that. And I kind of like the recaps of things like that, and kind of bring it to the forefront of how the people that are in the Banished Lands now view what happened back then, and the interpretation of those events, and who's a legend, who is not. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. You know, it is a book too. I would say that the least amount happens in this book,
Mhm.
but without this book, the third one would not have been as great.
Exactly.
So,
Mhm.
I really enjoy it.
Like I agree. Like I think the sprinkling of the first quartet is I think it's done better here than it was in the first book. I think there are fewer instances of like repetition type thing, but I love the twisting of history that is going on about how like Riv's like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, Corbin helped. Like he helped the Ben Elim take out Azeroth. He was a minor role, and when I read that stuff, guys, it makes me so freaking mad. Like when characters believe things. This is part of the problem I'm having with freaking this Arthur trilogy.
Back to Winter King again.
When people are believing crap that I know to not be true, that's one of the things that incenses me, both in real life and when I'm reading. I'm like, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Like, that's not the way it happened. I just read the first 4. Cole.
Alan, maybe you should read The Forgetting Moon.
Man.
It's too long.
Yeah.
It's 800 pages. Yes, it is. I will read it, but I can't read it this year.
No, it's not quite 800 pages. It's only 750.
Abby, the fact that you don't think 750 pages is long means that you have corrupted history. Like, you don't know what reality is.
Okay, that's a good one.
Should we move on to spoilers, guys? I don't think there's much else we can say non-spoiler, unless anybody has some final non-spoiler thoughts. I think we got to move on to these juicy spoiler moments.
Well, just one thought. Just one more non-spoiler thought, which is, I think from a technical point of view, I really believe that Gwyn got better in terms of his craftsmanship in this trilogy as opposed to the original Faithful and the Fallen. He does a lot of things really, really well. You can see the guy learning with each book. But one of my viewers put it really well when she said that there's something about the Faithful and the Fallen that's just, it has this heart, is the word she used. It has this heart to it. And another thing that I really love about this trilogy is how well Gwyn makes us feel nostalgic about the Faithful and the Fallen because of the continuous references to events from 130 years ago and how those characters, you mentioned the history and the importance of getting that right. And that's important to us as the readers because we got so invested in the Faithful and the Fallen. We want that to be told, understood the right way in the present of this story. So I really like the links that he's made between the two and how he's made me feel nostalgic about the Faithful and the Fallen in this trilogy, which is, I just see the guy getting better with each book. But
I got chills when Drem got to Dunsaren. Is that it? Dunsaren?
Yeah.
And, I saw the huge statue of Corbin and Storm. I'm like,
yeah. What a good moment.
Oh,
what a good moment.
So good. RJ, thank you for enjoying our discussion. So I guess we can knock it over to spoilers. Jimmy, I'll start with you this time. And you wanted to talk about Fritha, the new POV.
Yeah. So if when we talked about the discussion, and I also when I did my reviews of these books, I said at the end of book 1, I said what I'm wanting here and what I need is the POV from the other side. And then we got that with Fritha and all the awful things that are going on, that reanimator stuff and how are the Kadoshim being built up again? And we're seeing literally reanimation essentially, right? Being pieced together. And we see Fritha's motivations and the backstory and how she's justifying her evil, which to me makes it a lot harder to just straight up hate Fritha, even though she's doing some despicable things. And that was something I didn't feel for the antagonist in Faithful and the Fallen. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this series, as opposed to the Faithful and the Fallen, is the fact that we got Fritha's POV, and it wasn't like Lycos where I was like, oh, I still really hate you. Like, I really want you to die. It was more of like, sad. I was sad. I was so mad at her, but I was very sad as well. So seeing those justifications, seeing those motivations, I think that's what makes this a very well-rounded story. And Frith is a very good character, in my opinion. I think Frith really brings the trilogy whole in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So
I was first of all, Andrew is not a fan of Fritha, and I know Alex doesn't super connect with Fritha because he and I talked a little bit about afterwards since he wasn't going to be here. I'm kind of on the fence with Fritha. I agree that she's interesting because of her reasoning and the greater good. And she talks about the Benalim killed her baby from the very freaking beginning of the book, and it wasn't till she actually spelled it out for me that I'm like, oh, she was one of those. Like, how did I not know that? Like from the beginning when she said it the first time, I just assumed she was living on that farm and they just showed up and just stabbed the baby just because they're the Benalim. That's dumb. It is much more logical that she slept with Cole. Oh, that's right. Freaking Cole, put it in your pants.
Just slinging it. Just
so gross.
If you want it, you can get it.
He's so nasty. But
easy.
I do disagree, Andrew. But I thought the fact that the scene that probably shouldn't have, but broke my heart more than any other scene, is when they took Flick and put him into the dragon.
I know.
I was you bad man. Like I was so sad. I'm still sad.
Which is even better for you because you don't even like talking animals.
I don't.
Yeah.
I know. Wait,
Alan,
you were sad about the death of a talking animal?
John Gwynne is he's seriously the only writer that I am attached to talking animals. I usually I don't like talking animal companions. I'd rather have like ones like Storm. But the crows, man, I don't know why I like the crows so much. When Flick's gonna, I'm like, no, you stay away, you bad man. Like, and they pluck his feathers, torturing him. I'm like, you can't torture the crow, John Gwynne. It was, I've never seen anything like that. You can't torture an animal companion. I'm scarred by it, guys. Like as evidenced by I didn't realize how much I was. Sorry. Sarah, what were your thoughts on Fritha? Oh my gosh.
I would also for the second John Gwynne inspiration. I just read the book Morningstar by David Gemmell, who's one of John Gwynne's favorites, and there is a horrible character named Lycos in that book.
Oh,
so as I was reading it, I was like, oh, another one to hate.
Interesting.
Well, it's Greek for wolf, so it can't be that. I'm sure that has something to do with it.
It can't be that uncommon. But I did find Fritha to be a compelling villain. I did not have the same hatred for her that I had for some of the other villains, especially the villains from the Faithful and the Fallen series. What I found interesting about Fritha and all the perspective that we get in this book about are they called ferals? The mixture creatures?
Yeah.
About the ferals is that it pulls, it just draws on those themes that John Gwynne has set up so well, because you have on the opposite sides of this battle, you have Fritha, who is essentially mothering these creatures. She is bringing them into the world, and they're horrible. They're dangerous. They're feral. They want to destroy things, but she is bringing them into the world with such tenderness. She cares about them and she views them as her children. And then on the opposite side,
Sleeps with them.
Yep, she lays down, she sleeps with them, she trusts them, she wants to protect them. And then on the opposite side, we have the Benalim, the good guys, who are creating these children who, from what traditionally we look at in that, Christian archetype as angels or as the best of the best. And they are, they're murdering them as babies, and they're completely taking them out. And so you get this juxtaposition of the evil people who are nurturing these monsters. And then you get the good guys who are slaughtering these innocent children who are probably going to grow up, to be to fight for the forces of good, to know right from wrong, to have a sense of morality. And it's just a really cool parallel that John Gwynne sets up. And I think it ties really well into everything that's happening and everything that he has built over the course of the series. And it does give you, or at least it gave me, some empathy for Fritha. Like, she does care about things. She's so twisted by what happened to her. She just can't let it go.
That's such a good point. And the fact that they're killing the babies based on something they made up.
Right, they're fake religion.
Like, I don't even understand it. Like, they made it up. Why are they killing recruits to the army? Because tools of power. Tools of power. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And that's the one thing I like about this trilogy. Like, the thing I like the most about the trilogy, I like more than one thing, is that the using belief, using religion, using that kind of zealotry to control, to maintain control, inventing Elion's law, twisting the history of what actually happened on the Day of Wrath, that kind of stuff. Like, it makes me so angry, but as I talked about last time, like, I really like it. Israfil's not there, which I sympathize less with Israfil now that I know that they made up the law. Like, I
think,
and it's interesting. Oh, sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
I just wanted, because I know people like Andrew in the chat, and Alex apparently doesn't like Fritha, but I don't think you're supposed to find her to be as hateable as Lycos and things.
You're definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to say that, like she's a great character. Like, I would probably die on that hill. I'm fine with that. But I don't like. I think maybe looking back, we say, oh well, Lycos was just so hateable, right? It's just like, well, that's not what the goal is here. Like, I don't think Fritha is that.
They're different types of villain.
Yeah.
You have Lycos, which you just hate, and you hate him because he's the most awful person ever. Yeah. And then in comparison with Fritha, you can see her motivations, and you can see how she has got to where she is today. So you can empathize with her, whereas you can't really empathize at all with Lycos.
Yeah, it's bleakness in a different way, because the Faithful and the Fall is all about overcoming, finding hope and overcoming the bad, right? Well, the issue is that the bad has manifested itself within the Ben Elim and the people that we know and love. Now the monsters under the bed are us. And obviously we do have Fritha and we do have the Katashim, I know that. But I think that the goal of this trilogy is much different than the first one. It's still about finding hope. It's still about overcoming things, but a lot of it has to do with us and what we've done since we've won, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're still fighting off, old foes and such.
Yeah.
But in some ways as well, the greater good has created this new foe, or Fritha, because of the way that they have treated her.
Yes,
it's all
correct.
The greater good's fault.
Yes.
And the way they've treated the whole world. Like, we have the good guys who are basically, like, they have these enforced armies. They take their tithes. They steal people from their families. They bring them in. So we have the Ben Elim who are ruling essentially through fear, which is what we got from Lycos and from, Nether and everybody in the last series. And then we have the Katashim and we have Fritha, who are trying to actually build what they look on as a family. And they are a family with totally twisted goals who want to hurt people and take over the world. But they get that, like, that's how they recruit people to their cause.
Yeah, I don't think the Katashim are trying to build anything.
No.
Like, I think
but
the
Katashim
are still stuck. But I think people like Fritha, who are caught up in the Katashim's stuff are. Philip, do you have spoiler thoughts since you have not read the next book?
On Fritha, I mean, I think to understand Fritha, you have to understand the Ben Elim, and she is a natural extension of the arrogance with which they treat other creatures. The Ben Elim are like, in a way, they're like humans the way humans treat animals. Yeah. They regard us, humans, as basically inferior creatures, and our suffering does not matter as much as we think it does. So to them, our suffering isn't that consequential because we are inferior creatures. This is the way human beings have treated most other creatures throughout our history. So it might feel a bit shocking because we're on the receiving end of that arrogance in this case. But I think it's a theme that's really well done. And you see the damage it causes, this arrogance, the way that the Ben Elim treat other creatures in the character Fritha, who is a broken person because of what they did to her. So, and I think it's brilliantly done. And also, it's interesting too, because you see this theme of hybridity in this trilogy a lot. And the idea that the Benelim can even have children with humans tells you that there is a connection between them. In the same way that there's a connection between human beings and the other creatures all around us that we treat as inferior, we are connected to them in ways that we often don't want to acknowledge, or that we have ignored throughout most of our history. So the Benelim are connected to us, and we can make babies with them. And so, that's interesting to me. The idea of hybridity is something that he does a lot in here, and sometimes it's grotesque, as in the ferals and that sort of thing. But sometimes it's in a character like Riv, right? So one of the most interesting moments in this for me was the moment when Fritha sees Riv and realizes, oh my God, that could have been my baby. And that is a moment where I think when I most felt for Fritha, because there's a part of her that wants to be on Riv's side because of that. But then there's the other part of her, she's very much conflicted in that moment, because there's the other part, well, why didn't my baby get to live?
Yeah.
So that's a powerful moment. I thought it was really well done in terms of, I think, what Gwyn was trying to do with that character, showing us the damage that's been done by those who think that they're the righteous, those who think that they're superior to everyone else. You go through the world that way, you're going to do a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, that's true.
So I thought it was just brilliantly done through Fritha, and that moment with her seeing Riv really just sort of brought that forward in a beautiful way, I think.
Yeah, that moment was great, because when she saw Riv, I'm like, oh, she gonna be ticked. But he didn't go for that first. First, she's like, oh my gosh, they've changed. Like, they're letting the babies live like that. And I was like, that is such a better play, like going with that first. But then she's a human. So then she's like, it's not fair. Like, why, like, if we're letting them live now, why didn't my baby get to live? Like, this is crap. And all that rage that she felt, oh, that was a good moment. That's my favorite Fritha moment. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Which is pretty true to grief that you haven't been able to work through, and when you don't have an outlet to get, like, she's been building up this anger and this grief for years, decades. And so I think it's pretty true to life, at least in the experiences that I have, that manifests as anger a lot of the time. That was an excellent comment, Derry.
I always stroke my fake beard. I always do this because I have a.
I don't even have one, and I do this all the
time. Patrick, what are you got some spoiler thoughts you wanna drop on us, Patrick?
For Fritha?
For anything really. We're just kind of like dancing around spoilers now.
Okay. Well, as for Fritha, I agree with pretty much everyone here that she's still hateable to me. I mean, the stuff that she did was awful, but yeah, she has kind of valid motivation behind it. Well, still not valid for her actions. Though. I really hate her, but not as much as I hated Lycos. Obviously, Lycos is human being, and it shows that human being can be the most awful type of being, even more than the Benelim and Kadoshim. Lycos is proof of that. And what I found really interesting about this series is that after 130 years, the Order of the Bright Star, after what Korban and all the other characters did, they're still caught in the battle between the Benelim and Kadoshim after all these years. And I think that's kind of one of the main purpose of this trilogy, is to close the battle between this one. And I think The Time of Blood is a great middle book to lead to that final book, to that result. And Alan, I just want to know, what do you think about Bleda now?
I like Bleda now. Bleda, he's got so much more to do. Like I'm so glad that he embraced his affections for Riv, and they had weird angel hookup, like where she wraps him in his wings, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah, that was a little weird, eh?
Yeah, but I do like that he stands up for Riv, and I'm so glad. Like, I'm so glad that Jin turned out to be a bad guy, because you know what? Because he was gonna have to kill her anyway, like, because she's in the way. Like, Jin, you're just too mean, and you literally threatened to murder him, and so you're gonna have to get got. So at least she's a bad guy, so we're not gonna feel bad when she gets got. Like, seriously, you're gonna turn on the tribe? Like, what? And And I'm glad that he clarified it, because when his mom hugs him and is like, remember what I said about the Chirrut? And I'm like, no, I don't remember from the first book. But then they did it, and it's like, oh, don't ever trust them. I'm like, yeah. Those. When they turned and like ran into the flank of the Chirrut, I was like, man, screw these guys and their horses. Like, I'm so mad. I do not like betrayal, guys. I do not like it when people like turn on their allies. It makes me one of the things that I do like is that the Ben-Elim are despicable and they're awful, and Cole is worse than most. But they still do hate the Katashim. So I do like that they do ally with the Order of the Bright Star. They don't even like, because like, yeah, they think they're better than the Bright Star. But, you know, they hate the Katashim. So let's band together and get the Katashim so that we can still, you know, lord over you guys. And I don't know where Cole is at the end of the book. Like, is he dead? I mean, he's probably not dead, but we don't know. I mean,
we can dream. There's
too much to be resolved, but we don't see him at the end of the book. Riv can't find him, right?
Yeah.
I think
my favorite thing is every time someone realizes that the Order of the Bright Star is like 100 times more amazing than anybody has ever led them to believe, and they're just taken aback at how good they are at everything that they do. I'm like, yeah.
Riv is tallying points on what's better. Hold on. Oh my gosh, this scene when he goes into his parents' room and just starts like,
Yeah. This is what I mean by the found family theme. That Michelle, that's just a great moment, and that is just a perfect illustration. And Drem was my favorite arc in this book, and he's so far in the trilogy my favorite character, and it's because of that theme. He was a character that I immediately I liked him a lot, but I also had this sort of protectiveness that I felt for him, and maybe that was because of Olin, his father, but also he just seemed so vulnerable and in some ways naive. But he was a character that I just loved from the beginning, and I felt terrible for him when in the first book his father died. But that moment was so cathartic for me when he has all those tears and his aunt, and because he's on the spectrum, he feels a little weird about that, like his aunt touching him and embracing him. It's a little hard for him to take that consolation from her. And that too made me I thought that was just so effectively done, that this is a character who's, to me, the most complex and interesting in this trilogy and convincing. And I just felt so touched and moved by that scene that you mentioned. So yeah, that's a great call. And him finding his tribe, finding his people, that's just a beautiful thing. And I think Gwyn does that so well.
Yeah, he tries to break away when Burn's hugging him. Like, he tries to get away and he can't. And that was so good.
You know,
sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to say, you know, part of me almost wishes that, like, we had a kind of a transfer of Drem, right, from when his dad died, and then he gets accepted in by Cullen and everybody. Like, I almost wish that there was a little more time between those two things. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't have been interesting if Drem was trying to survive by himself, like out in the wilderness, and I don't know. It would have been interesting to inspect how Drem would react by being literally alone and the only person that had ever taken care of him, you know, and then obviously he had been screwed over by Fritha. Like, would have been interesting to see him process that alone. So maybe that's one thing I could have enjoyed a little bit more. But I loved where Drem was and what he did in this. But I was just hearing Philip talk about that, and I was like, man, it would have been even more impactful, you know, if we had seen him really struggle to connect a little bit more if he had been alone.
We saw a little bit of that at the end of Time of Dread when he has to, like, rather than just leaving, he just stays and doesn't know what to do. So he just goes to his house and, like, you know, Home Alone's the whole thing.
Yeah, so that is true.
We saw a little bit of him trying to survive on his own, but then, you know, Cullen and them all showed up. But I get what you're saying, like, just seeing him cope with the trauma of losing his dad, because he doesn't really have time to process, which I think is one of the reasons that him seeing his parents' room at Dunsaren is so powerful, because he doesn't really have time to process it, because they're assaulted at every freaking campsite by whatever new beastie comes up that is going to steal and Dr. Moreau into her new, we got the freaking Naga woman, Elise, I guess. And then, guys, I'm sorry. Like, I was like, a Drake again. But as soon as he made that Drake fly, I'm like, yes, I'm back for it. Can talk.
Drake 2.0, baby. Let's go.
Hungry. I was like, I was so happy that Wrath can fly and talk. Michelle reminded me, freaking, I take back everything I just said about the Benalim. They ran away and left them to die.
Yeah, they sure did.
They are pieces of flying trash. They are seagulls. That is what they are.
They're rats
with wings. They are rats with wings.
Oh, I love Michelle is just like, they retreated.
I hope the Katashim win. It serves them right. I hope the Katashim win.
Sometimes I felt that way too.
Like, they're just like, what are they doing? Like, what are you doing, Benalim? Like, you're Can we talk about this? Cyprian said this earlier. The duel between Byrne and Cole, like,
was sick.
That were y'all afraid when you first read it? Philip, were you afraid that Byrne was gonna get got?
No, I honestly wasn't. I didn't think we were done with Byrne just yet. She's too cool of a character for him to kill off right away like that. I mean, because she's a mother figure, I think her days are numbered. This is a Gwyn book after all. But I mean, there's my first prediction for Time of Courage. Byrne is going to die.
Oh man,
that's my first.
I was worried about Byrne, like from the very beginning. I was like, oh, she could be dead.
Yeah, she's such a cool character, and I love that scene. And it was kind of one of those. I kind of thought that it was going to happen the way it happened, but I was like, yeah, when it happened, because it was just one of the great duels. And Gwyn is not only good at battles; he's good at duels, isn't he?
Oh, the duels are so good.
So
like,
good.
Absolutely.
I wanted her to kill Cole right then and there. I was going to be like, yeah, suck it, Cole. I'm sick of your crap, and you can't, like, buy a belt if you can't keep your pants up. I don't know what your problem is. Just stop.
You're horny, Alan.
It's so gross. He's so gross. Seriously, I talked about him last time. He's the guy that's like, hey.
Oh, no.
Remember?
It's like, don't
do that to Patrick, Alan. Don't do that to
disgusting.
I bought Tales of Arise. You want to come play co-op with me?
It's like in Erased, Alan. He's got the lollipops.
Yes, he's got like freaking a glove compartment full of suckers.
He's got a little chest hair poking out, just a little bit.
Yeah, he's the guy. He always leaves his shirt unbuttoned, like 3 buttons down. It's like, button your shirt, bro.
Place is kind of lame. You want to go back to my place?
But the worst thing is he actually does it to Riv, who was his own daughter.
He didn't know. He didn't know. To be fair, I don't think that would have stopped him, but he didn't know.
Dude, this guy slips and falls into people.
He's very sleazy.
Repeatedly.
I think he's misunderstood.
But, I mean, he knows that he slept with her mother, though. So
yeah, I mean, that's true. I did like, and I felt bad for Riv. I liked that. I didn't like it, but I liked the plot thread that she was being used as like this propaganda tool. She is like, she's not a person to Cole anymore. She is a pamphlet. She is the figurehead of this new, more enlightened, fun. It's the new fun, Benalim. It's like when Chuck E. Cheese went from having a top hat to carrying a skateboard. That's what it is. It's like, hey guys, we're relevant. Hey, how do you do, fellow kids? It's Steve Buscemi in the high school, like trying to appeal to more people now. And she's like, she's the poster boy or girl.
Hello, fellow kids.
Yeah, fellow kids. It's freaking. I dislike Cole so much.
Oh my god!
I think he is interesting, in his just complete ultimate depravity and willing to do really anything to kind of live the life that he wants to live. Like, I'm not certain he's even super concerned about the Katashim, other than the fact that the Katashim are a threat to his way of life, the same way Israfil was, the same way that poor White Wing that got blamed for everything was. You know, it's just like Cole is he's the ultimate revisionist, and it ticks me off.
He's kind of the
he's
Lycos.
the real evil.
Yeah, he's the Lycos of this series, but he happens to be on the side of the people we want to win.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is why, like, so for instance, there's a gentleman named Kenneth in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, and this won't be any spoilers, but the reason why Kenneth is a lot of people consider him to be one of the most compelling antagonists of all time is because he happens to be someone we need to succeed to see people around him that we like also succeed.
Oh, no.
So like it's like you know, I don't like Cole, but we need Cole to succeed so I can see, you know, Blod and these people.
I don't. They all go down.
They all go down. Melt it all.
They all go down. I'm willing to make the hard choices, Jimmy.
Andrew said Cole makes a more compelling. I mean, I think that's the point.
Yeah,
I think that's exactly what Gwen wanted.
Yeah, it's just for us to be super conflicted about Cole, like disgusting.
I'm not conflicted. I hate him.
Yeah, well, Big Daddy Michael's back, y'all, and Michael ain't gonna put up with no foolishness. So old Daddy Mike's about to straighten. He's about to clean house. He's about to straighten people up and make them fly right. And if Cole opposes Michael, I'm not tolerating it.
Since we're talking about the Benelim, one real quick thing I wanted to talk about was whenever we first see Riv's first POV in this book, I want to see what you all thought of this. Like they're making all these plans, like Blod and Riv, like how we're gonna, you know, kind of like we have some truth now. We got to figure out our next moves, and then all of a sudden the Benelim sweep in. Maybe I'm an idiot. I didn't see that coming. Like I was like, oh. Like I very much expected this to be like Blod and Riv going off on their own.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the Benelim swoop in, and I was like, oh, okay, we're not doing anything that we just planned out. And I thought that was like it's a twist that isn't like, oh my God, you know, like it's not crazy, but I just like that little subversion of what he had taken the entire chapter to plan out.
Yeah, I certainly didn't think they were going right back to Drassel, and there they were.
Yeah.
Back in Drassel.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I very much like Riv's first chapter, and I think I remember reading that, and whenever it says like the Benelim swooped in, I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like I like this a lot. I don't know where this is going.
Abby, do you have any other spoiler stuff that you would like to discuss? You are the only one who has not been called on to give spoiler thoughts.
Okay. I was like, where's this going?
Be careful.
I can see how you thought it was a setup so that I could make fun of you, but it's not. It's sincere.
With friends like these.
I like to keep people on their toes.
I mean, I guess we could talk about the ending, which we haven't really talked about.
Oh, that's good stuff.
In this video.
Yeah.
Oh, ouch.
I'm sorry.
Sarah with the torch.
It was too easy to walk in. I apologize.
The whole thing is a setup, Abby. I played the good guy. Meanwhile, I threw my voice.
Never came in.
It's very ambiguous, very gray. I like it.
That's a side of Sarah I hadn't seen before.
I'm corrupting her. Come to the Katashim side. All right, Abby, yeah, let's talk about
the ending. The epic ending.
It's good stuff.
Good stuff. I'm very happy that Michael came back at the same time. That we have him too returning, because I feel like that adds an interesting dynamic. I think, as you touched on, Alan, that what that's going to mean for the future of the Benelim and what direction that's going to take them in, and the humans and him coming back and realizing, well, he's been asleep for 130 years, and what's happened in the meantime, and then realizing like, oh, all those people are dead that I was just with, and this is where we are at now, and where do we go from here?
Yeah.
And that actually we still have a big evil.
I liked that Fritha, she walked up in there and told Gullah, she's like, hey, I gotta be the one to do this. Like, he promised me. And he's like, is it done? And she's like, it's done. No, it's not, Fritha. It is not done. You screwed it up. You liar. You did not kill him. But she's just like, she's walking there pretending like she succeeded when she did not succeed.
And I love how the last line is like, I'm Fritha and I'm your betrothed. And I remember
yeah,
messaging Petrick and being like, Petrick, is that really the last line? Is like,
Yeah.
I'm your betrothed.
Is that really where we're going with this?
She
Is
said,
that where we're going with this? Like, imagine you're some big evil. You've been away for 130 years asleep, and suddenly you wake up and you've got this woman in front of you who's like, "You're going to marry me."
A human woman, no less.
Stage 5 clinger. Welcome to your.
I mean, you'd be like, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Go away!" Like,
why is she marrying the devil? Like, that's Fritha. Come on, like Fritha. I don't know. I'm still predicting. I'm predicting a face turn for Fritha before the end of the series. I'm predicting a face turn. I think she's gonna straighten up and fly right, and she's gonna end up on the side of not the Benelim, but the side of the Bright Star, because they're the good guys. That's my one prediction. We'll get to predictions in a second. Philip, what's your opinion?
If she does that, she'll die.
Oh, 100%. But I think Cullen's gonna die too, and I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna throw the book. I'm right here, guys. Cullen dies, the book getting thrown. I will let you know. Cullen dies. Throw in my book. John Gwynn, do not kill Cullen. Don't do it, John Gwynn.
Don't you do it.
so those are your death predictions, Cullen and Fritha.
I think if Fritha face turns, like Philip says, she'll die. I don't think she'll die if she stays heel. Philip, what do you think of the end?
I'm wondering too. So somebody mentioned, I can't remember who, but the probable power struggle between Cole and Michael now that Michael has been revived. But also I'm kind of wondering what Azeroth is going to say. Like, first of all, where the heck is my hand? But also, is Gullah?
That was like the most wholesome. Like, he would definitely not say, "Where the heck is my hand?"
I mean, he's the devil. So
I didn't even think about it. Like, he's gonna be like, "I don't have a freaking hand. Give it back, Gullah."
But is Gullah going to willingly like bow down to Azeroth now too? I don't know. Probably more likely that than Cole giving the reins to Michael.
There's no way Cole gives it up to Michael. No way, Philip.
Yeah, but I like the fact that we have a kind of it's a bit Empire Strikes Back-y, I guess, in the sense that the bad guys win one of the major battles here, the one between the one at Drassel, which the Benelim totally, don't look so good at that particular moment, having turned tail and fled. But also you have one battle where the good guys have prevailed, and the Order of the Bright Star has defeated Fritha through the vulnerability of the what are they, the Revenants? Yeah, the Revenants. It's an exciting ending, and it gives you enough hope, but it also feels like we're in a bad place right now. So I thought it was well done, and we shall see what happens. I'm invested enough in those characters. I want to, of course, Bleda and Riv and all the rest. I want to, and Drem most of all. So we'll see.
What is the Revenant vulnerability? Is it the magic stuff?
No. So if you kill the Revenant who produced the other Revenants, then the other Revenants that Revenant produced, they die. That's what happens with when.
How did I miss that?
So Drem saves the day essentially when he kills. Exactly, by killing Ulf, he kills all the Revenants that Ulf created. So
I'm literally when we're done, I'm gonna go read that. Did I read that when I was tired or something? Like
you were nodding off. When
seriously, Philip, it's entirely possible. I read that during one of the. I did not know that. That's what Andrew was talking about with the Revenants having like a really specific weakness. I didn't know. So all you have to do to fix that, don't send the Chief Revenant out to battle. Have him in a bunker somewhere.
Well, that's what Fritha was trying to do, but it didn't work out.
Gotcha. The Chief Revenants, they don't want to like go off and be in a bunker. They want to fight.
Yeah.
Well, it's in the bunker. It's in the bunker. Seriously. That's what you do. You put you
out.
encase them in a cement cube, and then you win. Seriously.
So they need to take out Gullah because he's the one who made all the Revenants. Essentially, he's the granddaddy of the Revenants. So yeah.
Gullah. I hate Gullah.
Yeah.
I did like that Gunnel bit it, and Claw. Well, I like Claw better, but Gunnel suck it. Like I thought he was gonna kill Balor following that pit. I'm like, you ain't gonna kill no Balor, One Eye. Don't do it. And then Balor's like, oh, and he just crushes Claw's head. And then Gunner's like, my bear! Ah! And then he gets a hammer to the face too.
Dude, Balor is like one of the most underrated characters.
Dude, Balor One Eye is...
He's such a legend, dude.
He's aces. Yeah. I love Balor.
He's so good. I have a friend reading through Faithful and the Fallen right now, and he just met Balor, and he's like, dude, this dude's a badass. I was like, yeah, he sure is.
I thought Alcyon was going to fight it. I'm glad he did not.
I like Alcyon.
I would have been sad if Alcyon survived the entirety of Faithful and the Fallen, only to do really nothing in Blood and Bone and then die in that one battle. Alcyon can die in Time of Courage if he needs to. But
I really like the white bear as well.
Yes!
The white bear that loves honey and that like follows him around, and
Drem, look, Drem's about to be a bear rider, and it's going to be freaking awesome. And I also love the fact that I like that Drem is like, I can't do the sword dance. Like, can I just use like hatchet and knife? Like, can I just use my sax and my hatchet? And he's just this whirling dervish of dual wielding death.
It's awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, the Giants to me are probably my favorite part of Vanished Lands. Like, I like their lore, I like the Faithful and the Fallen, and like the power structure and who Sig belonged to and how she ruled. And like, I was kind of shocked. I think when we talked on our last show, I felt like a lot of maybe not a lot, but I do remember some. I can't remember who it was, but they just didn't like Sig, and I thought that was it. Like, it's my favorite part. Like all of the Giants. When Sig died, I cried. Like, I was like, God, no, please don't. And like if in Balor, whatever ends up happening, like I'm so invested in that. I don't know why, but I like Giants. I'm just Giants and Bears. They're my thing.
Yeah, I love the fact that they ride the bears. Like the bears,
so sick.
The bears make me so happy. I can't wait till the white one gets a name. And because I like Hammer too. I thought Hammer wasn't gonna make it, and she survived. The old girl survived. And who's riding Hammer now? Do we know? What, didn't someone ride Hammer?
Yeah,
someone did.
No, Balor's riding someone. I don't know. I thought we had someone riding Hammer. Maybe not.
Bear romance though.
Yeah. The bear romance between the white one and the and Hammer. This is a good book. Does anybody have any other spoiler thoughts? Did we miss anything we wanted to talk about?
Did you have any predictions?
Oh, I mean, my prediction is Cullen's going to die. Though he could easily not. But I think he's going to die protecting Drem, and I'm going to cry. I think he's going to die protecting Drem. Either that or Byrne will die protecting both of them. Which, like, Byrne, I think Byrne is more likely to die than Cullen, but I could see Cullen biting it also, just because that would make me the saddest. And because he's so... the reason I think Cullen's going to die is because he's so unafraid and doesn't ever want to, like, leave the battlefield. And so, he wants that glory. Cullen is... He's just... He's interesting to me because he wants that glory. He wants to be the same kind of warrior that is he Corlin and Corbin's get, or is Byrne Corbin and Corlin's get, or is Byrne's from Veritas and Byrne is from Veritas and
Veritas.
Okay, yeah. So he wants to be like his great grandfather Corbin. Like, he wants to be that warrior. And that's why he's always like, let's do it. Like, woo-hoo-hoo, stay frosty, gents, let's do it. He's Leroy Jenkins, ready to run in.
Leroy Jenkins.
He's just going to lead the charge. Also, Philip, have you seen the additional POV we get in Time of Courage? It's like the second POV.
I haven't looked yet. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we get a fifth POV in chapter 2.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I will also make a prediction. So Riv and Bleda, obviously they're now, they consider themselves a couple, I think, right?
They are a couple.
Yeah.
I predict that since they're a young couple, they're going to survive.
Yeah,
if
I agree.
Older than, but yeah, they're young. So.
Agreed. Drem will survive. There's a 0% chance Drem dies. Drem will survive. Riv and Bleda will survive. The other ones are up in the air though, so we will definitely have to see.
Yeah, And if they survive, then I think you're right about Cullen. Yeah, because there has to be somebody.
Yeah. So, like this is what I like about like one. Whoever said who's the one? Philip, was it you that said that it has heart? Like all of them. But yeah, I agree. Like John Gwynn's books are so full of heart, which is what I love. Like I'm reading a book right now that is excellent. It is excellent, but it has this very like just defeatist, like it's just this defeatist air about it. And I love the book, but it would be one of my absolute new favorites if it had that kind of heart. You know what I mean? I love that, you know, we're going to get him. Like eventually we're going to get him, you know.
What are you reading?
Blackwing, and it is fantastic, but it is all very depressing.
I think it's like a charm, right? So I just read The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker, and I think it's like beautifully written, and I think it's an excellent book. But I said I haven't actually reviewed it yet, but I said in my wrap up, I said that I felt like it was missing a little bit of charm. I don't think that R. Scott Baker was looking to have truth and courage so much. But John Gwynn does a very good job of like offering up, I want to say like hope, but also just moments to make you smile, even though I mean the Vanished Lands are extremely dangerous and bleak. And I feel like a lot of books that I end up liking, because I happen to like very nihilistic things. But in that, I still think that there's room for a chuckle or a smile. And I think John Gwynn does an amazing job of balancing those two things. He does a very good job.
I feel like John Gwynn just must be a really nice person. Like he must not have it in him to not have that idea that humankind can ultimately be good, because I feel like that's the kind of person he must be, or at least that's how it comes across reading his books.
I'd like to get a beer with him.
I like the fact that he has that heart because he also does something that I love that a lot of authors shy away from. There is cost for victory. Like his victories come at an incredibly high cost, which in books that have that kind of hope and stuff, the authors tend to shy away. Like everyone survives except maybe a side character, just so we can say we killed someone, like a tiny, like that nobody cares about. But Gwyn, like those final battles are costly. And that's why, Philip, you're absolutely right. If Riv, Bleda, and Drim are going to survive, we have fewer characters to sacrifice on the altar than we did in Faithful and the Fallen.
Right.
So I just, I like that about Gwyn, that he doesn't shy away from showing like we won, but man, like it cost us a lot. And I just love that, because too many authors just are they just don't. And so I like that.
Yeah, he's willing to show us the loss in order to give us a more compelling ending.
Correct.
I messaged John Gwynn after finishing A Time of Courage.
No, it's gonna be. I'm so excited.
And I think you might as well, Alan.
We'll see.
I could see.
I message everyone. I message every author every time I read something.
I could see you writing him a letter.
It'd be good to have a blood pressure cuff on you while you're reading this, so that we could get a look inside.
Yeah.
The Time of Courage won Petrick's Book of the Year last year.
Did it really? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
And we know Petrick reads a lot of damn books, so you know that.
Rhythm of War was very close, but in the end, I eventually chose.
No, it wasn't. Don't you lie.
Does anyone have any final thoughts? Because we are at an hour, which is what we try to keep it around. Unless anybody has some final thoughts, we will the next one will be, the final one will be on Jimmy's channel, where Jimmy will be facilitating our discussion. So yeah, any final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? It was good. I'm excited to see how it ends. I have several books I have to get to before I can get to it, though. So
yeah.
Thanks for everybody showing up early. This was an early live show.
Oh, yeah, it was. And thank you guys for watching. Your comments are great. Andrew, thank you for your dissenting opinion, which is always good to see what didn't work for certain people. I know this isn't Alex's favorite. I think he's probably more on your side.
He hated it so much he skipped the talk. He said,
did.
I'm out.
That's not what happened. He has little children, and is really busy on the weekends apparently now. So because
I
again,
think he's golfing.
he's definitely not golfing. He has tiny children. I think he's probably changing diapers. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. This has been super. Like, I don't even like. What are we gonna do? Like, we've got one more, and then there's nothing left. We'll never speak again. Our friendships are over. This is the only thing that has. This is the only thing that holds us together as friends.
Bloodsworn trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. That's true. But I mean, that'll be a year till we talk again.
No, it'll be out this spring.
Oh,
We have to read something.
May, right? Yeah. or
We'll have to
something.
find a new series.
we'll have to find out. The problem is like I see everyone like always talking on collabs and stuff, and I'm like, I haven't read anything anyone else has read. Like, I need to read something
You should read good books.
You're right. I should stop reading this trash that I'm reading.
Brian McClellan, what are you doing?
I'm not actually reading Brian McClellan.
Congratulations.
Just reading like everyone. I need to read First Law and Stormlight and
Yes, you do.
Same.
First law. First law.
I got Wisdom of Crowds.
and
I
what
found
else
it.
is everyone reading? So
excited.
lucky. I mean, I guess if I wanted to read it, you would be so lucky. But it's like the 9th book. But anyway, guys, this has been a blasty blast. Thank you for being up early, Patrick staying up late, and thank you guys for joining us in the comments. And we will be back probably in October for Time of Courage, because there's a 0% chance Time of Courage will be read in September by me. So hopefully we can put something together and we can conclude what has been a great friendship, and we can all talk about it in our olden days about how we all used to be friends. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.